Mayreen's getting the rest connected. Um, Welcome everybody to Short History of the World, Class 4. Today we're going to be starting on civilization and how civilization began, and there is a lot that we need to do together. And shortly after I do a review and get everything set up, there's going to be an activity, and you're all going to be coming into the circle and working on a big question. And after that, I'm then going to, in the take up, give you the critical content about civilization that you need to know. But first, in a few minutes, you're all going to be working together to answer a question. So you can start thinking about this now, and then you will have a chance momentarily to work on it together. What exactly is civilization? I'm going to answer that question for you after you work on it together, but I'm going to be very curious to see in your teams what you think civilization actually is, because today is when we really begin the story of understanding what human beings have built on this planet. I need to review, though, with you because last week we ended with a lot of content not being delivered to you about the ascent of humanity. And so there are things I need to tell you in the review, but essentially I'll be able to do that just in presenting a video to you about somebody who's so important in the story of evolution and helping us to understand it. And it's not Charles Darwin, it's that other person, Alfred Russel Wallace. And I'm going to show you a video, beautifully done, very creatively, about him in a moment. So we are essentially getting rolling here, and I also want to tell you why I'm wearing a hat today, my favorite hat, because there's something I want to introduce to you that's happening in this space, the global classroom, and it's called the Repair Cafe. So before I start with the review, and I want to give Mayreen time to get things teed up, we have everybody in outer space right now. And hi, Root. Root, can you hear me nice and clearly? Could you jump on your microphone and say, hello, Lon? I can. Let's see if we get a microphone. Are you able to use your microphone, Root? Or is the microphone broken? Okay. It may be. Fair enough. I won't push anything. When we don't hear from a student, it probably means they don't want to talk. They just want to chat, and that's good. That's fine, okay? So, okay, let me go to my notes and make sure that we're finished with our little bit of tech time. I'd like to give you a chance to ask any questions now, anything that might be on your mind before we get going on review, and I can bring the microphone around to you. But first, take a look at the middle panel right now, and you will see a really important email address. It's called the globalclass@durhamcollege.ca. And I'm going to leave that up there for a little while because today, when we get going in our take up after the activity, my hope is that when we are discussing the answer to what you think civilization means, you might have a link or two or three that you might have checked in your discussion that you've had in your teams that we could actually look at together. So if there's anything from the activity that you're doing that you think we should be looking at together in the take up, send that link to that email immediately. It will go straight to Mayreen at the podium, and immediately, or pretty quickly, we will be able to put up that resource right on the video wall or our dashboard for everybody to see. So that's the idea, that what we're doing with the multimedia classroom here is we're able to open up the classroom to the whole world, with not only teaching about humanity, but you can send us stuff. And in theory, in any class that I do here, no matter who is connecting to the class, from anywhere in the world. If they come in on YouTube, they come in on Toria, they can just send us something. And you literally, if you wanted to, if you got sufficiently interested in the content in the class while we're having the class, you could say to a friend back home in, let's say, Mumbai or Amritsar or Chennai or maybe in Manila or in, let's say, Mexico City. I don't know, you may have a friend you've been playing a video game with, and you say, hey, we're just having a class now, and we really want to look at that interesting thing you did the other night. Could you send it to this right now, and you can join the class, and within 2 minutes, we can be talking about it. That's the idea. The global classroom is open for humanity. This is the new classroom for humanity. That's what we're building out of this space for all of humanity. So the global class at durhamcollege.ca is where you can send anything you like. And you could even do that now if you want. If you think there's something we need to be looking at, we will look at it. I need to do a bit of reviewing about the participation marks and the assignment, first assignment and the second assignment that's coming. But does anybody have any questions at this point that they would like to bring to the class's attention? Okay, great. That's good. We're fine there. We've got the space station there. I can run my PowerPoint there. Excellent. You think you'll be able to come back? Try to come back if you can. Okay, great. Yes, DP, good. Is DP, are you able to jump on your microphone so we can talk to you, or are you going to just speak through live chat? Let's see.
Yes, sir, sure.
DP, are you there?
Yeah.
Microphone? No?
Yeah, I am on
Okay,
microphone.
I see your microphones. That's fine. We'll work with the live chat just so we don't slow things down for a moment. Here is the question. I have one question. It's around attendance marks. Excellent. And there might be something else here. So this is definitely something I want to deal with. Anything here at the moment, or I'm going to move on and make sure I address that question as well as the participation part. Okay, DP, yes. Share that via live chat? Absolutely. And is anybody in the live stream of the class here right now? You don't have to be. Mayreen had to, here's the answer, so I'll give it to you orally because I can't, it's just too much to do for me. Mayreen's gone to go to the live chat and enter it, put my notebook down. So here's the email, okay? This is what should be in the live chat right now. theglobalclass@durhamcollege.ca. You should see this on the video wall behind me. So, Root, answer in the live chat. Can you see in full screen the video wall and me and all the students? Just answer yes or no. Okay, great. So do you see behind me right now? Can you read what's behind me on the big index card? Can you see that, Root? Yes? Great. It's working. The idea is everybody who joins the global class, wherever they are, can see exactly the same thing that everybody else is seeing. They've entered the space. They can see the wall too, just as if they were sitting here. Good. So that's where you send it. Root, can you see it nice and clearly so that you could send an email if you wanted to the global class at durhamcollege.ca, and that's where you would send it. Now, if you see anything else in the live chat, let me know, okay? What's your name again? Sham. Yeah, Sham. Excellent, Sham. And where's Hillel? I know he was with you last week here, but was it Hillel? Was he sitting there, Hillel, last week? I'm getting it mixed up already. Okay. I know that's Alec, and I know that's Josiah, and we will do this in a moment because I have an answer to the attendance issue around how I'm dealing with attendance and managing attendance with 3 different kinds of ways of joining the class. So here's what I'm starting to do. Okay, here's the answer to the question in the live chat about attendance. And here's something I wanted to tell all of you anyway. So it was a really good question. Whoever asked that about attendance, DP. DP, listen, okay? Here we go. In order for me to keep track of how everybody is attending and also so they get their proper marks, whether they do a question or a question and answer, let me just take a moment and first do this. I need to confirm who is here in person. And this is the way I'm going to do it for every class. Okay? So first, Josiah is here. Note to self. I'll watch this recording afterwards. Okay? So this is Alec is here. Okay? Good. And Joseph. Joseph is here. Okay? Alec? Good question. Then I have to do the second name too. So help me out, okay? Because I'm getting up to speed now. This weekend, I'm going to be loading all of your participation marks for the first 3 classes. I've already done them. They're in my spreadsheet, and I'm going to be putting them up, but I'm going to be checking and making sure that nobody's cheating. And the only way I can do that is to do this, to make sure I know exactly who's here in person, and I match that to the question, because I think some people are already cheating, but not you, but others online. So I have to just be careful. So let's make sure I can deal with the first names. And then if there's a first name that's repeated, we'll get the last name. So, and this allows me to remember names too, which I like to do. So Josiah, Alec, and Joseph here. Justin Bourne, of course, is here. Mackenzie is here. Excellent. And it is Zane is Zahin. Zahin is here. Excellent. Peta, of course. Sham is here. And Ethan. Ethan's here. Tala. Tala. Okay. How do you spell that? Talha. Tala is here. Okay. So that's the inner circle. Let's see about around here. Your name? Omar. Omar. Omer. Omer. Okay. Omer is here. Thank you. Young. Yeah. Yeng. Yong. Okay. Way to go. Yeah. Now I see your nice smile today. Last week it was the mask. Good. So Young. Yes. Chenmei. How do you spell? Chinmay. Chenmei. Chenmei. Chenmei is here. Yes. Sujeth. Yeah, I remember. Sujith. Sujeth is here. Yash. Yash is here. Yash is here. Kelvin. Kelvin. Kel. Kelvin. Kaivan. Kavan. Wow. Okay. And Erica. Erica's here. Okay. So that's the inner circle, or we'll call this the starship. This is the starship. Okay. Now let's go to a bit of outer space and let's confirm who's outer space, because this is where it got tricky last week. I'll tell you what my problem was, the participation. But of course, Alex is here synchronously, and DP's here, and Jonas is here, and AJ, Benjamin, Fordham, Carlos, Fatiu, Jonathan, Kyle, Maurice, Mubarak, and let me just check once more and see. Great, Pardeep, Root, and Yasin. And I'll make sure, it doesn't always save the list of all the synchronous attendance when we sign out. That's the problem. So anyways, I'm learning, but this is good. Now I can remember some names. So I know now who's here for the live class, and I know who will get the 3 out of 3 for just their question. It's you guys. Okay? That's really important, because some people were sending in just a question, but I was sure they weren't coming to the class. And so I made a whole bunch of, I was identifying, is this student pulling my chain, as we say? Like, is this a student who's starting to try and get under the radar on this class and maybe just do no work but get the marks? That's because I think about you guys who are doing the work, and I don't want anyone else to be getting good marks when it's really you guys who matter the most and should get the marks you deserve. Nobody should be taking marks away from you and all of you. Okay? Yes, Alec.
Wouldn't it be easier just to do a sign-in sheet?
Yes, but the paper would get lost. I used to do that. And if I do a digital sign sheet, maybe the file will get, it's just too many things. So if I put it all on tape now on the recording, I just go to the recording, I check with my spreadsheet, and it's done. Okay? But thanks for the suggestion. Okay? Good. So this weekend, you can expect that your first participation marks from classes 1, 2, and 3 will be loaded. And there was a participation mark for the first class. That was all sent to my email. Do you remember that? And I've checked that and tracked that. The second participation mark, I gave everybody 3 out of 3 because I forgot to ask you to do that question or answers. So everybody's getting 3 out of 3 for the second participation mark. For the third one, that's when the discussion board has started. And now the discussion board for the fourth class has been opened. I think this is the way it's going to roll through the whole semester. That question is due before next week's class. But I would suggest that you do it, all of you, after today's class, just so it's fresh in your mind. It's easy for the inner circle, the live students. So let me just check. DP, did that answer your question? Yes or no? Just go ahead. Great. I think this is the way to deal with the live chat. Just get them to answer yes or no, and they hear it. And if we want something more involved, we'll try and get them on the microphone, but it's no problem. Great. Okay, so before we get to Repair Cafe, and then we get to Civilization, Alec, do you have a question? You good? Hold on to the microphone. All right. Now I'm going to run the video myself, so I will go over there and see what Maureen has. If not, then we're going to go in another direction. So I want to show you something here, and it looks like it's not fully loaded. So I don't want to get slowed down by troubleshooting, and she's not here. And so I'm going to do this off my toes. I was planning to show you something. Unless there are more questions, I'm going to move on to Repair Cafe. I have one more question about the first assignment. Okay, good, because I wanted to deal with that around the participation. Your first assignment, the instructions have now been posted for you. It's due on next Thursday, October the before. So you have a first assignment that's due in addition to your question before, is it Thursday? It's a Thursday night? Yeah, great. Thanks, Alex. So I just want to make sure you're clear on the first assignment because the student has asked in the live chat. The instructions are there for you in DC Connect with the assignment due date. Does anybody have any questions about what they're being asked to do for that first assignment? Why don't we, just for a test to make sure, let's go to DC Connect. Could somebody go to DC Connect and read out loud to me what you see for assignment 1? I just want to make sure everybody's clear, and then we're going to go. So Joseph, do you have it there? Yeah, okay. So Joseph has opened his DC Connect Short History of the World page. Could you just read, yeah, great, okay. Just read out loud because everybody should see this, okay? Everybody should see this when they look at DC Connect later. These are your marks. This is worth 15% of your grade. So this is important, okay? Joseph, please go ahead.
Assignment 1 should be submitted to the Assignment 1 Dropbox no later than Thursday, October 3rd at 11:59 p.m. The reflection should be between 425 to 450 words and should discuss what has stood out for you so far in our classroom. It's worth 15% and is out of 10 and will be graded as followed.
And just read the marking scheme. So you're clear on what I'm out of 10. So how am I going to mark this?
So 9 and 10, thoughtful, encompassing, show excellent integration of course material, well written. 7 and 8 should show some inclusion and some thought of course material, writing errors. 5 and 6, superficial, show little integration of course material, poorly written.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. So let's make sure you understand this, and we can always get to the big part of today's class, civilization. It's all ready, but your marks matter the most, and this is when you're being assessed. So I really want to make sure you know what's being expected of you. All right? Yep, good. So oh, look at that. Thank you, Root. Root, for doing that. You are really good on the live chat. There we go. Okay, so for all the folks on the live chat, Root, I would like to make you the official live chat master. Okay, is that okay? You are the king of the live chat, or queen, king or queen or prince. I don't know, the live chat. I'm always going to be asking you in these assignments that you do. There's 4 of them through the semester, to be reflecting on the course material. And generally, in these assignments, you're going to be picking 1 or 2 ideas that are really important to you, and you're going to be explaining why they matter to you. That's it. The final assignment is the big one for 30%. That's a little bit broader and more involved. I will explain about that a little later. But in terms of assignment 1, assignment 2, and assignment 3, you're really thinking about the course material. So integration of course material is a very important part of the marking scheme through this whole semester, as is your ability to write well in English. Now, let me just make sure that what I just said landed, okay? The next thing you need to hear and listen to me on is, if you know you have trouble with English, writing proper English sentences, please email me as soon as possible, and I will get you the help you need. I'm not going to ask you individually. I'm not going to go down the list of students in outer space. I'm not going to say much more to the recording students. I have in Short History of the World this semester, over 2 cohorts, 103 students in this class. So there are a lot of you just out there in the cosmos, I was just watching the recordings, and that's great. If you know that you cannot write English well, or that you hate writing, or that writing scares you, please email me as soon as possible. That's it. Okay? If you like to write, you're in the right class. If you like to think about big things and write about them, you're in the right class. You're going to come out of this class one way or the other with not only a deeper appreciation of why you like writing, you will come out of this class with a better understanding of how to write better if you don't. And most importantly, here's the big thing. You are finally going to learn in the story of human civilization on planet Earth that one of the greatest inventions of all in the story of the human race on planet Earth is the human invention of the written word. You may never have really understood that, and you may never have really known that the ability to write and use an alphabet or use whatever system you have, as I mentioned last week, I touched on this, has given us humans enormous power. And so maybe you will come out of the class this semester with a deeper appreciation of how important it is to write well. And unless you have a disability, which I need to know about ASAP, I'm going to be pushing you through the semester to write better if you can't. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that. Today, if we can get there in time, I'm going to show you how we actually invented writing, the written script. It's an incredible story of human invention and the way we, well, anyways. And I also brought today a story of art, Ernst Gombrich. Last week I talked to you about that, but here is his actual classic. And I brought a few other books that I'm going to read from. So, okay, that's my, it's in case. You know what I'm going to do, just because of the way today's class has gone with some tech issues, Maureen is gone, is I'm going to flip things a little bit right now and get the activity going. Because right now we're at 10 to 1, and I've been talking all of this time, and that's not good. So this is a flexible classroom. I have enough experience as an instructor to be able to teach and move and do what has to be done to keep things moving and engaging. So I'm going to put the Repair Cafe hat down for a moment. I'll get to that later. And I think we should jump into it. So here's what we're going to do, okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Great. So 4 groups of 4. You are number 1. You are number 2. You are number 3. You're number 4. You're number 1. You're number 2. You're 3. You're 4. Justin, you're 1, 2, 3, 4. Erica, 1. Joseph, 2. Alec, 3. Josiah, 4. All number 1s, would you please come over to these 2 couches here, okay, in this corner, and join Ethan? So the rest of the number, all number 2s will come to these 2 couches here, okay? All number 3s come to these 2 couches here, and all number 4s come to these 2 couches. And for the people in outer space online, I'm going to come to you in a moment. I have a surprise for all of you while the activity is going, but let's get this going first, okay? And you can bring stools over, and I'll make sure your microphones are off so you will not be heard while you're discussing. And this is your group right now. And what I'll do is to give you a stool if you need. I'm going to bring this stuff over here. And oh, she's back. Great. It's okay. We'll get to that in a moment. No problem. We're going to do the activity first, then we'll come back to the thing. So we're all good. So you've got this. Great. So team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4. And for all of you in outer space, I'm going to come in a moment, okay? So just hang on. About 10,000 years ago, something pretty remarkable happened on this planet. An ice age ended. There was a lot more water. Rivers were forming as well. And to sort of cut to the chase for the moment, and I'll give you the rest of this later when we do the take-up, there were about 5 million or so, we think, human beings spread around the planet, families largely, all over in different parts of the world, but they barely had any contact with each other. And they started to do something around the rivers. And I will show you what they did around agriculture and food production that will begin this process of civilization. I want you to answer a simple question, all of you. I want you to think about, for the next 15 minutes, what does civilization mean in your estimation? You're free to go to a website if you want some help, but I would rather you don't go online for this. I would rather you do something that humans are very, very good at. We have an imagination. Our brains are the most involved instruments that have ever come to planet Earth. Your memory and your ability to concentrate on a thought and think about things is really important. Reaching for your machine and going online to answer the question for you should be the last thing you do, not the first. So I'm asking all of you to have a discussion, each of you, Ethan and Justin and Erica and Omer, your team, the team for 15 minutes. What do you think civilization means? Humans created civilization. They did it starting about 10,000 years ago, and in a very, very short period of time, in planetary terms, 10,000 years is like yesterday, right? In terms of the time scale we've been looking at in this class when we look at the planet. In 10,000 years, we will have gone from just hunting and gathering and a few million to what we have now, a technological global civilization of 8 billion people on this planet, and we're now thinking about going to Mars. That's civilization. So what is it? What's driving civilization? What do you think civilization means exactly? Okay, for better or for worse? Maybe it's not a good thing. We'll see. I want you to have that discussion and be ready to take it up together. And then when we take it up, I'm going to go to my little lecture and I'm going to fill in some details for you so I can show you what we start to do when we create civilization on this planet. Does that make sense? You good with that? Okay. So I'll check back in with you in 15 minutes or so. Please go ahead. Great. Okay, now. Way to go. That is? Okay, great, great. Okay. What I'd like to do for now is I think I want to connect with all of the online students at the moment. So while there's an activity going here, I want to talk to them. So let me just check my glasses. I was having a little trouble, but I think I'm okay. So yeah, my knapsack is over there, and but my glasses went. Oh, thanks, Maureen. Yeah, yeah, excellent. And I knew I had my. Okay, so let's try this. And my notebook is yeah, good, 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 good. Okay, so okay. Hi, DP. You can see me now at the podium. I'm speaking to you. Can you hear me nice and clearly? Just say yes, you can. Are you there? Okay. All right. Maybe she's gone for a vape. Who knows? Root, I know you're there, right? How you doing, Root? You want to just go, yes, I'm here? Okay, excellent. So we've got our prince, our queen, our king of the live chat. Okay, all right, DP, good, good. Here's what I want all of you to do. So I'm assuming that everybody right now online can hear me. I don't need to check with Pardeep and Yassine and Maurice and Kyle. I know you can hear me. I'm actually going to go over to the smartboard on a different camera and I'm going to talk to you directly. Okay, so do you want to do preset two? Okay, so, okay, so. Okay, so, great. So, you will all see me now, and I'm speaking directly to the cosmos, to the planets orbiting around this amazing classroom. I want you to do exactly the same thing that the students here are now doing in teams. I want you to think about what is the meaning of civilization. And what I'd like you to do is, once you've given this some thought, what you think civilization means, I want you to put that answer as best you can, even if it's notes, into the live chat. And I'm going to take this up on the smartboard. So let's try this, okay? So watch how this is going to work. because we're going to start the take up now. So, what is civilization? What is civilization? Okay, that's what we're doing today. In about 15 minutes, the four teams, after they've discussed this, are going to be providing their answers to this question. But in a way of preparing for that, and also to make sure that you will be involved as much as you can in the take up and that you have some interest in it, I want to start answering this now with your help. This is going to be the take up board where we're going to take up everything with the teams. But we can start putting things on this board right now with your help. So let me just make sure you can still see me. I can talk to you, and great. Normally, I can see. Yeah, good. Okay, so I can see the live chat. Start putting what you think the meaning of civilization is into the live chat as soon as you can. Just start doing it, okay? And I can see it over here. And I'm going to take what you've put in the live chat and I'm going to start putting it up on the board here. Let's see if this is going to work, okay? Good, Maurice, excellent. Okay, so Maurice, excellent. Guys, Maurice, Kyle, I see that. Yassine, lovely, lovely. I'm just going to speak to Mayreen for a moment. Mayreen, in the future, I need to see myself on that, but that way I can. Don't worry. Today is okay as long as we've got. Okay, good. So Maurice, Kyle, Yassine, keep going. So Maurice says a group and time that people made changes for the better of humanity. Okay, good, Maurice. Actually, I may even challenge that, Maurice, a little later. Some people say that civilization has not been good for humanity. If you can, yeah, but we'll get to that. The human and cultural development. Way to go. Jonas, Jonathan, Carlos, Alex. Excellent. You're all doing it. Okay. I'll give you another few minutes before I start putting things on the board. Okay. And I just need to talk to Mayreen too. We're still doing some troubleshooting. So hold on. Good, Carlos. Yep. Yep. Way to go. Yep. Maurice is in there. Kyle, Yassine. Maureen, are we able to get that panel, the laptop HDMI on that? Yeah. You can get it on the far one? Okay. Don't worry. Because what I used to do is I could see the live chat like this. I would look this way, and I could see it right there. But anyways, it's okay. We're good. We've got things moving. So I see Alex in there. I see Carlos. I see Jonathan, Jonas, Yassine, Kyle, Maurice, Mubarak. I want to see your definition. What do you think civilization means? Okay. I'm not going to let anybody off so easy today in outer space. I want to see you thinking. So, is it Fatiu? Have I pronounced it? Good, Mubarak. Fatiu, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Fatiu, is it? Fatiu. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Good, Carlos. Carlos, you're in there, right? Benjamin? Oh, I thought it was Benjamin Franklin for a moment. He's a great human inventor. Benjamin Fordham, are you in chat with your answer yet? AJ? Jonas, you're there. DP, I don't see an answer. Okay, I'm not going to. Good, Jonas. You posted. Got it. No, I think Root. Huh, nice, Root. Good. Roots there. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start. Good, AJ. Okay, good. So I'm going to go now and I'm going to start to look at these notes that you put in there. And Maureen, would you be able to scroll back to the beginning of the answers in the live chat to, yeah, so it's just after Jonas. Yeah, Maurice. Okay, so Maurice is saying a group and time that people made changes for the better of humanity. Okay, so I'm going to put, and Maurice, listen to me because I'm going to be paraphrasing what you've said, and I'm going to put it onto the board here in a few words. If you think it's wrong, let me know, but I think it should be correct, okay? So, change for the better. Is that okay, Maurice? Change for the better. Let's see what happens. Okay, so Maurice, all right, I'll keep going. Kyle, the human and cultural development that is the most advanced. Cultural development, Kyle. Okay, I'm going to put cultural development. Good. Okay. Nice. So we've got the human mind in there. Yassine is saying a group of people who live together in an organized living. Organized living, and that's Yassine. Okay. Okay. Let me just see how this is looking. Okay. So right now you should all see that I'm beginning to extract the critical ideas, and we're going to be bringing this up together. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, okay? Just going to talk to the group here. 5 more minutes, okay? And then we'll take it up. So I'm just interacting with the others. I'm just going to clean this up for a moment. So change for the better, cultural development, organized living. Okay. Okay. I want to just get these notes working a lot better today. So, change, organized living, cultural change for the better. Good. Cultural development. See, what we're doing is we're creating live PowerPoint slides. These are like the bullet points, but we're creating them live, okay? And then we have organized living. Okay. Just want to lay this out so it's nice and easy to read. Okay, there we go. What is civilization? Change for the better, cultural development, organized living. Okay, let me keep going. And Jonas has said, civilization means a society where people, yeah, we've got that was the organized living, okay, for Jonas, and I think there was somebody else. Cities, social structure, culture, leading to technological advancements. Good, Jonathan, technological advancement, okay? Technological advancements. Okay, nice. Okay, so right now we're creating the beginning of our good notes that you can use for your review, for your assignments, and your reflections, for your questions and answers on the discussion board. And it's coming from you, and I'm also checking it. It's ultimately going through my mind in the end. I put things up here, but we're creating slides together, okay? So let me just move this, okay? So, and I'm just gonna check and see. What is civilization? Okay, let's keep going. What is civilization? Okay. Okay, I'll do a couple more and then I'm going to go back to the group here. 2 more minutes, everybody, and then I'm going to come back. A gathering of sentient beings. Interesting. A gathering of sentient begins. Well, the spelling there. Yeah, it's okay. It's quick. You wrote that quick, Carlos, so I'm not going to focus on that. A gathering of sentient beings. Carlos, a chimpanzee is also a sentient being, and so is a squirrel. We don't talk about civilization as being something that a other animal has. Usually we talk about civilization as being exclusively a human thing. We might talk about a chimpanzee society or a community of gorillas or orangutans or a community of a school of fish, for example. But we don't talk about civilization in terms of other animals, okay? Other animals are sentient. They feel, they think, but humans are the only ones who are civilized. So I'm going to leave that for now, and we'll leave that for a moment, okay? I just want to make sure we can't get to everybody online, but okay, so 1 minute, and we're going to start our take up here, and I want to leave some time to do the lecture too, or at least a brief lecture. So that's great. Just 1 more minute. Just make sure you're all ready for a take up, and I'm going to go to the notes, and I'll do those myself. So you just need to be able to speak. Seems like you're ready for sharing these with everybody. You're good? Okay. So the next step of this today is that we're going to go through each team, and there's going to be one person from that team who's going to take a microphone and is going to stand up and come here and speak, and I'm going to be the one on the notes to make sure it all gets into the notes. So let's take this step by step because I'm being very creative today. This is the first time I've done this in a classroom quite like this. Okay, so you're watching me dancing a little bit, skating, but I had it planned in my head. It should work. So let's start with team one. Okay, that's simple. Who from team one is ready to come stand over here and communicate? This is what humans do really, really well. We communicate to each other. We speak. We write. And so part of this class, Short History of the World, is to help with your communication skills too. So unless there's a problem, I will volunteer somebody. Justin, you came up to me today and had some good points to make. So, okay. And just take this, okay? And it's on. Remember karaoke, so talk right into it so everybody can hear you clearly. So everybody online in the Cosmos and everything, we're starting our take up now. Not everyone in the live chat has yet put things onto the board. We'll deal with that later. But this is the critical part now, the inner circle and what they thought. And then we are going to start to make this come alive. You don't have to bring the camera over here, okay, Maureen? You can leave it on. So Justin, go ahead and tell everybody what you think based on, your little chat with Ethan, Erica, and Omer, civilization means.
Well, as we discussed, probably civilization is kind of made up of several different factors. Like, trying to think what I should start with here.
Yeah, it's complex. Go on. Yep.
Because obviously, I think their architecture can play a big factor. Because, especially when it's particularly what comes to mind for me, at least, is what we would say in ancient civilizations like ancient Egypt,
Yes.
China, Greece.
Yep.
Because some of the structures there are very distinct and unique.
Yes.
Egypt obviously has the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
China has
Sure.
they have the Great Wall of China. I'm not sure what Greece has off the top of my head, but I know that generally, like some of the more ancient ruins there are pretty distinct.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And also, I think every civilization also has a culture is also another big part of it.
Yep.
If I can just remember.
Let me just check and see. Jonas, can you hear Justin clearly? Want to make sure that everybody online? Great. Jonathan, thank you. Okay. I'm going to stop you for a second because there's a lot that you're giving, and in a way, you're already giving away some of my lecture because I'm going to talk about some of these great ancient societies too. But there's a big idea that you've given here, which is complexity. Things do become more complex. Many more things are going to start to happen, and they have to connect somehow. And that's when we talk about complexity. There are many parts to something, and they all have to work together. It's like a car has many parts. It's got to be able to drive and move. We have a class and all these different parts, students, technology. We have a coordinator at the podium. It's all got to come together into a great class. So different parts, many parts all coming together and working together, connecting. It's complex. That's great. Okay. Let me just make sure. Is there anything else you want to say that's more broad? We don't need to hear about the different societies or civilizations. Just like what are humans starting to do in civilization that they weren't doing when they were hunting and gathering and foraging for food?
Well, that's when they, I think, start to sort of become, I guess, connected to each other a bit more, like being able to collaborate a bit better.
Yes. Yes. More connected. Collaborative. But also more conflict. That's the problem with civilization. You put more people together in one place, and they're not all family. They're strangers. How do you stop them from killing each other? Alec? Laws, you got it. So let's just stop. That's great. We're going to see laws starting. Government. Okay. Do you want to give the microphone to the next team and see who's ready from team 2 to go up? But thank you, Justin. That's a great start. Okay. Go ahead, Sham. Go to the podium and go and tell us. It's complex, more connected, collaborative, but also more conflict. Yeah. Go ahead, Sham.
So we had the idea of if you guys are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
With which?
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Go ahead.
It's like a kind of a pyramid. Like we all have our basic needs of like food.
Oh, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sorry. Yeah, of course. Tell them Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah, what's that all about?
So at first, you need food, water, the basics to survive, right? But if you have all that, then you start looking at more things like money, relationships, happiness. So our idea was we started moving from, I guess, savages to civilized when we started moving past the basics in terms of needs. We wanted more things like money, power.
And we organize ourselves now, all these people coming into communities, into hierarchies. You've stumbled, or maybe not stumbled. You knew what you were saying, but you may not realize just how significant that word hierarchy is. You're using it in terms of Maslow and his hierarchy of needs, what humans need. That's more of a psychological understanding of what humans want or need. But from a social standpoint, Sham, we say that in the beginning of civilization, we see the beginning of hierarchy. This is important when we start to get into the development of empires and kings and queens and courts and emperors and who's smart and who isn't and who's down here and who should be an untouchable, how the caste should develop, who the slave should be, and who the rulers should be. That didn't exist before civilization. You go into tribal communities, you go into hunting and gathering and foraging communities, and you will largely see almost always a kind of equality. The women, the men, the children are all looked upon as being equal contributors to what that group needs. But then comes civilization. And then comes hierarchy, and it's really important. So, Sham, unless you want to say more, we'll move on because you hit on something really important. But why don't you finish, okay? Because I want to make sure you have enough time. Hierarchy. Yeah.
We also had an idea about the development of an economic system. So I guess at first, if we wanted something that someone else had, we would just kind of steal it. But that's not really sustainable.
Yeah.
Because that sets a bad precedent.
Hmm.
So then eventually we moved on to bartering, but we didn't like that either. So eventually someone had the idea to make coins.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden we had money and
Yep.
now we got to pay taxes.
And you're going to start to understand a little bit more about who we pay our taxes to at the beginning. How many of you know the story of the Hunger Games? Raise a hand. I mean, where do you think they get the idea of tribute from? That's the first taxes that we humans had to bring something to our ruler. I'll explain in a moment how this all started. Hunger Games is one of many popular stories in our culture today that draw their understanding of humans from ancient history. And it's cool. It's interesting. I'll try and tell you when these are accurate and when these are make-believe, because some of these storylines are not always true. But tribute is really important. Okay, so I'm just put systems there, Sham. Economic systems, other systems, and one of them is going to be money. Yeah, currency. Trade. And of course, the big word, commerce. These are all things that humans start to do when they're more connected. They start trading and they start. Anyways, thanks, Shem. Do you want to go? Team 3, okay. Alex is going to take it. And for all of you in the cosmos, please just keep listening. There's some good ideas coming here. Yeah, great. Go ahead.
So with our discussion, we were talking about the fact that groups were now starting to come together, which created commerce, infrastructure, and because of commerce and infrastructure, it became the needs of more jobs because people needed to build houses for the people they needed to live. They started, because of that, it then developed this stuff like medicine, science, and further technology.
We call them specialists. The specialists come in now. Yeah. Go on. Good.
And with this, because of the way the communities were usually built around rivers and stuff, that different types of jobs, because before they would go out hunting, now they spend more time fishing and then planting different types of grains and then developing different types of food.
Yeah. Here's a big question. Why are we developing more things? What's the reason for why we would start creating and developing more things? Alec? Yeah.
Well, humans were a very social species. So back when we were in the tribal days, we would basically spend maybe 4 hours hunting, and then the rest of the day was spent communicating with each other and spending time together.
So we were creating things just because we like to do that together?
To make things easier so we had more time to spend together.
Maybe. We will answer that in time. We do know that what happens in civilization is we increase productivity. We start to create more things from the earth. We take rock, we take water, we take our animals and we domesticate them and we have more food. We start to create more and more stuff. It's called productivity. We start to become very, very productive in what we actually create. The question of why we produce so much stuff, maybe, Alec, but there are other reasons we can explore. But we would say that productivity accelerates. And I'll show you more how that works around agriculture and food. Joseph? Well, I'm going to address the answer to this now before Josiah comes up, because it's going to maybe change your minds about something. Alec has said that we were producing things to make our lives easier, maybe. And Joseph has sort of concurred. Well, actually, there's another way of looking at this that historians today have begun to help us to understand. When we were not civilized, when we were just hunting and gathering and foraging, life was actually a lot nicer than you think. We tend to think that for the early hunting, gathering, foraging communities, they were savage, they weren't intelligent, they didn't know how to enjoy leisure time. Actually, you're wrong. A lot of these early hunting and gathering and foraging communities, they would go out and with their great planning skills that I showed you with the cave art where they would plan and kill, they would kill what they needed and they would have a lot of time to enjoy themselves together. Along comes civilization, and I will show you that the critical part of civilization is agriculture, food production. When we start to create more food, we become busier and we start to create more, but actually it's just leading to more things to do and more work to do. Think of your life right now today. Look at the machines that you have. In theory, given the sophistication of our world today, we live longer, we have good clothes. Yes, I know there's a lot of mental health problems, but we're doing a lot better than we used to be. And yet everybody's stressed. Everybody has no time. Everybody's saying they're too busy. I have news for you. We become more productive. We want more and more and more. And we get even more busy. And we have less leisure time, not more. Does that make sense? This is what historians are starting to tell us about civilization. Alec, yes. Yes. We'll try and deal with the 99% in this class, okay? There's always going to be a 1 or 2%, you know, the exceptions to the rule. We will deal with the margins when we can, but let's try and deal with the mainstream. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I see. Good point. They become our emperors. They become our kings and queens and our chiefs. They become the ones to whom we bring the tribute. And they have time, lots of time, to, like King Ramses, the great pharaoh of ancient Egypt, 156 children, it's said that he sired. Did he do that with one woman? I don't think so. 2 women? I don't think so. 3? Nope. You start doing the math, and you will understand that the people in power have a little more time to, you know, enjoy themselves. Oh, I don't know, Alec, something like that, okay? Now I understand where you're going with that. And in a way, Alec is hitting a good point, which is what we do start to see is the productivity is going to lead to us working hard to keep a very few in power that we think are divine. It's called the spell of the God King. We will see this in every society. It doesn't matter if you're in Africa. It doesn't matter if you're in Asia. It doesn't matter if you're in the subcontinent in India or you're in the Americas, you know, with the great Mayan or Aztec or Olmec cultures of, it doesn't matter. Right from the beginning of civilization, the power structure that humans are going to create will be, it's a man and he's kind of divine, and he knows more than we do, we better keep him in power and bring him lots of stuff. I'll show you more about how that works. But thanks, Alec. I understand exactly what you're saying now. It's a good point. Okay, let's make sure that the final team, is it Josiah that's going to do the, yeah, great. And then we're going to make sure we can summarize this and go to the Cosmos. But Josiah, please go ahead and let's start a new slide.
Problem with being in the last is that a lot of people have already brought up a bunch of your points.
Yes.
But yeah, I believe that civilization is in the end it's about cooperation. Humans are social. I don't believe there's a lot that's set in stone about human nature, but one of the things that is humans
Yes.
needing social interaction.
Yeah.
They need other humans and they need to work. And civilization is about the efforts of other humans kind of pooling together to for the benefit of other humans together. Like all of us, who built this room we're in? Like who built the buildings to use that pen you're using?
Yeah, yeah.
Things. It's like nobody's efforts, especially now after civilization is invented, are just from their own or just of their own, like their own social group. Everything is built on the labor of other people, on the efforts of other people together to create.
It's an excellent point, and I've framed what you've said as a question because I want you to think about that. Do humans really need other humans? Well, actually, I'm going to bring a historian in to help us answer this question in the affirmative. We do. He's right. But my lecture today is coming to you this way. In the answers, I thought I was going to stay up, but you're going to have a chance. I just want to. Today is a day when I'm inventing a lot of things. I'm doing things quite differently. I thought I'd give a lecture after this, but my lecture is coming more in the answers. Okay, I will fill in the blanks when I can, but I will give you the critical points in these answers. Hierarchy was a very important point about civilization. Understanding what hierarchy means and how it's led to a lot of problems we will get to. The answer to that question is yes, they do. And I'll tell you what the proof is. There is a world historian, and his name is William McNeill. I was planning to show you a slide with him and his son, because he's a historian, but I'll just give this to you now because I think it's the right time. These are two of his books, classics. Rise of the West, History of the Human Community, Plagues and Peoples, the impact that infectious diseases have had, pandemics, on human civilization. It's an amazing story. He's a very creative, original, forward-looking historian. This book that was written in the published in the 1960s, won many awards. It took him 40 years to write. It was the first real world history that tried to tell us something about the human community on planet Earth. A world history that looks at the whole planet, not just one culture or another. The Rise of the West, A History of the Human Community. And then he wrote Plagues and Peoples. No other historian has written as he has with such depth and scholarship. And I will tell you later when we get to ancient Greece and also Rome, how important plagues were and pandemics were in the development of these societies. Have you ever wondered, for example, whatever happened to that great ancient golden age of Greece that only lasted for 100 years? One reason for why it disappeared was because of a plague that killed many of its important people. But I'll tell you about that later when we get there. William McNeill said, there's a powerful force going on in the human story in civilization. And that story comes down to we humans are always engaging in persistent collective learning. Let's understand this because it answers that question very clearly. We humans like to learn together. Oops, and oh, thanks. Not only do we like it, but it gives us the ability to evolve faster and go further than any other creatures on this planet. He called it persistent collective learning. Now, Josiah, do you want to come back and let's make sure we understand this? And then I will do a little conclusion with a chronology today so I can bring this into the right time frame for you. So it's very clear for you. When I write that William McNeill told us that persistent collective learning is really important in understanding human civilization and how it developed, and it answers that question, and it affirms what you've just said, why am I doing that? How does this all tie together as you hear this? What do you think persistent collective learning means? Hold the microphone here.
As people discover things, invent new things, learn things about the world, each other, have new ideas, that kind of gets spread around. They tell other people things. It gets either taught.
Yeah.
It either gets taught in a community or a group of people can internalize it, talks about it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not always. It just sort of things. It doesn't even necessarily have to be in like a academic setting.
No, absolutely not.
A whole ton of things people know are spread just through cultural osmosis.
Why might we start writing, for example? We will start writing in the early part of civilization, and I'll show you where that happened. But what would writing do for us when we start writing things down? Why didn't we just keep speaking and just talking? Why would we invent something where we put this down? Let's see what Josiah says, okay? Yeah.
To transfer information without having to be there, right? You could also store it. You could save it for later. Say you forget something, you can look it up.
Yeah.
You can leave it behind. Someone else can look it later. You can put it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to know this, just go look at that.
We invented that. We figured out, you write it down, you send it off down the river, a note on a piece of clay and whatever, and you're transferring your thoughts to somebody else. And you don't need to be there in person to tell him. It's pretty brilliant. We invented that, we humans. No other creature has. Very, very well put. Alec, do you want to add to that? Okay.
Wasn't the first writing created for commerce purposes to keep track of buying and selling?
Yes, it was. In fact, the one image I'm going to show you today from the little lecture I was planning to give on the origins of writing is going to drive home his point, and I'm going to put a year around this, and then we're going to conclude the class. Today has been a very interesting class but I'm trying to get you the proper information in a different way. Is this clear in what we're doing, or do you find yourself scattered as you're listening to this? Do you understand the story as I'm giving it to you in a very introductory way, but are you understanding? Is it making sense? Let me know, okay? Because this is a little bit different today. Let me end today with something, because Alec is absolutely right. And I want to show you something that is so important in our story. And then we're done, okay? So let's go. You can grab it and sit down, okay? You're fine. Thanks, Josiah. I'm going to bring up my little PowerPoint that I was planning to show today. And I'm going to go straight to a very important image. Oh, I'm going to do it as a... I hit the wrong... okay. No, here, come back. I'm going to take it and do presenter view. Okay? That gets us... Come on up. There it is. Okay. Excellent. Now, I want to make sure everybody online should see this. This is one of our first cities in all of human history, and we might call it ancient Ur or Uruk. Let me just explain. You're looking at essentially, in terms of time, about 5,000 years ago. So 3000 BC or BCE. When we use time references today, it used to be before Christ, BC, but to remove the religious part, we often say BCE now, before Common Era. Or it's Common Era, which is after Anno Domini. But I'm going to use the traditional terms for the moment, because those are often what you're familiar with. When we say BC, that's before 3000 BC is before Jesus Christ. When we say AD, we mean Anno Domini. That's after Jesus was born, not after he died, not his death. Anno Domini for Latin. We'll stick with those for a moment, okay? But for more contemporary ways of looking at history, we've moved the Christian element and we stick in the E, before Common Era or then Common Era. But I'll just stick with BC. Okay, so 3000 BC, 5,000 years ago. Here's what we saw on planet Earth. In a place called Iraq today, big country, Iraq, there are two rivers there, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers that come out of the Persian Gulf. We saw a similar process take place around the Yellow and the Yangtze rivers in China. We saw this around the Indus River in India and Pakistan, or what was then Asian, because of a war between Muslims and Hindus, something else. We saw this as well around the Nile River in Egypt. Humans came together and they started to settle in about 10 or 15,000 humans together around these rivers. These rivers allowed them to connect with other communities because we were starting to build boats. And we even soon will create wheels that will allow us to move more quickly through communities. But really, when we talk about civilization, the cradle of civilization, we often say, is in Mesopotamia, where a lot of human development happened. That's land between two rivers, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, that's Greek, land between two rivers. The two rivers were the Tigris and the Euphrates in what's now Iraq. And in that area, we had all these different communities forming around those rivers, because rivers were where we could grow stuff, grow crops, and we could also connect with other communities. Well, you can see some of these great early city-states, we called them, around the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. You'll see the Tigris, there's the Euphrates up here, and the Tigris is over here. And this is the first empire in human history. It wasn't Egypt. It wasn't China. It was called ancient Sumer. It was all of these city-states came together of 15,000 into this larger collection called Sumer. And they invented the first writing called cuneiform. Have any of you ever heard of cuneiform? Sham, you have. Alec, you have. Let me show you what we did. Alec, when he said about why we started to write, it's not entirely correct, but he's on the right track. We started to write first in these places. William McNeill will tell us that when you look at human history, you must understand that it is the breakthrough to more and more power for ourselves, the realization of more and more power for ourselves. The driving force in human history often is power more than anything else. We want more power. Everyone here, every single person sitting right here in 2024, if I asked you, you all want a little more power or a lot more power in your lives. Of course you do. That's what we want. The invention of writing after agriculture, I've sort of gotten ahead of myself today, but I can review that next week. The invention of writing is a huge breakthrough in giving humans more power. And here's what we did in ancient Sumer. There were markets in these city-states. Could have been Lagash, later it would be Babylon. You can see these mentioned in the Bible, or at least the Bible of the monotheists, the believers in one God, the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims. Each of these city-states had a ruler. And I'll try to get this in 60 seconds, and then I'll let you go, and we'll review this. 5,000 years ago, in these city-states around the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what became ancient Sumer, the ruler, it could have been any ruler. We often, Gilgamesh, you might have heard the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the great classics. All of the people who ruled these city-states were men. They were considered god kings. We others were growing crops for them in the countryside, and we would bring these things in, just like, oh, sorry, can you come back? Yeah, to show you that image. And then take a look at this picture. This is a typical scene in ancient Ur, 5,000 years ago, of a farmer bringing some crops in to be stored in what's called ziggurat. Every community had these buildings where things were stored. They become the beginnings of our temples and our churches and our storehouses. To cut to the chase, and then I'll come back to this next week immediately. Take a look in the lower left-hand corner. You see a person. He's recording something. He's writing something down. Alec was right about this. When we began to write, it's not because we wanted to be poets. When we began to paint on caves, it wasn't because we wanted to create art. It was very practical. The person who's doing the writing there has figured out how you take a little piece of grass, like a hard piece of grass, it's a reed, and you sharpen that reed at the end, and you bake some clay, and you create a tablet. It's called a tablet. And when the farmer brings stuff in from outside to give tribute to the god king, the scribe who works for the god king is making a record of that. And this is a contract that was being made between the farmer, who is bringing things for the king to be stored in the ziggurat, where all this grain will build up, and then the king will decide who's going to get all this grain, who's going to get all the oats, who's going to get all the millet. And the contract says, if you don't bring me all of that stuff, that barley, and if you're not bringing, as we discussed, we're going to kill you. We will do what we like with you. You have to bring this food for it. You promised this. I'm checking. I have a record of this. The origin of writing was a way for the people in power to control us. And they didn't give us that skill. We didn't even want it because we believed that anything they did was coming from God. And I will leave you with the final thought. It's a very, very big thought. It may be hard for any of you to grapple with, but it's kind of dark, but it's important. William McNeill has said that when humans created government, which is what this is, the beginnings of government, we became slaves of our gods. First, we thought that the gods in the heavens we had to appease with sacrifice. Eventually, we transfer that idea to a king, and we say, the king is somebody we have to be a slave to because he knows more than we do. It's fascinating. He even uses the term, we humans wanted to be slaves of the gods. I'll stop there. I'm a little over. Today has been a very interesting class and the way we put this together. Before we finish, is there anything you'd like to say? And then I will make sure I do a time scale or a timeline next week. Yes. Yes, I do. Let's go to it. There it is. That's the beginning of writing. That's ancient cuneiform. That's the next slide. There it is. That's a 5,000, I think it's 5,500-year-old piece of baked clay. And you look at what this is before the alphabet. Handshakes. That's the deal. In the top, a hand represents, we've got our contract. Down there is, the fork, working the land. That's the grain that's been brought in. There it is. That's the beginning of writing. The Chinese, the Asians, they would do this in the back of turtle shells. They would write things. But it's the same idea. A contract. With who? Somebody we believed knew more than we did. I better stop. I don't want to hold that for next week or put it in the. Okay, Alec, final thing, and then we'll. Yeah. Hold the mic, okay? And yeah.
I was told that they had 150 different words for grain.
For grain? I've heard that too. I'm not sure the exact number, but you've made your point well, that we had so much grain. We never had a word for, you won't even see this in ancient Egypt when we get there, or even in ancient Sumer. There's no word for freedom. Think about that. We had many words for grain, but no word for freedom. You're going to start to see that in human societies early on, and then through many, many others, there was very little freedom for most people, just for the select few, because we kind of wanted it that way. Let me just say one final thing so you understand this. When you wake up in the morning and you have many decisions to make about what to do, wouldn't you just rather let somebody else make the decisions for you at a certain point? Wouldn't you rather just have a big daddy or a big mommy, but essentially a big daddy, holding your hand through the day and telling you what to do and where to go, so you don't have to deal with the complexity of life? And isn't it easier when somebody makes decisions for you? It's harder when we're free to make our own decisions, right? Okay. I'll see you next week, okay? We're going way over. Thanks, Alec, for your good comments, and I'll review this next week. You can always find me an email, everybody. Erica, great. Let you go. My question? Yeah, don't forget. Okay. Yeah, don't forget your question. Okay, guys. And then in the Cosmos, let's see. I'll come over there in a moment and check, but we're ending the class right now. We've gone a little. What does that writing say? Good question, Root. Root, would you bring that question back next week and we'll do it in the review, okay? I will tell you. What does that writing say on that cuneiform tablet? Thank you. Sumer. Sumer. Yeah. It actually predates Egypt, and they were close to each other. They eventually will connect, but Sumer came first and then Egypt a little bit